COVID has impacted many organisations in many ways. For some, it's even impacted their automation journey. How has it impacted you and your team?
So COVID's impacted us significantly as an RPA development team. We've had more demand than we've ever had before, and we've needed to work quicker than probably we ever have before also.
For the increased demand, Adam, that you've seen, what challenge has that brought to you?
So by having so much demand now and the reputation of RPA's significantly risen across the organisation, we're now having to be really careful about what we take forward and what we say no to, and say that that's not the right thing to automate at this time. But ultimately, the scale of RPA now, and the opportunities there for us to push that door open and see if we can scale this as quickly as possible.
Is speed important?
I think speed is one of the most important things through RPA development and releases. We've seen through COVID that for us to react in a traditional way of upskilling a workforce, maybe a load of temporary agency staff, maybe some more outsourcing, that in itself would take time. And the speed for us to be able to deliver a solution that we did, and yes, it took some long hours and some hard work, really was the driving force of why this particular opportunity was such a big success. We didn't have long to do it, and what we achieved within those few weeks is quite exceptional.
Do you have any standout examples where you had to automate a process as a direct result of COVID?
Yeah, we have a couple of examples of things that were in response to COVID situation. One was about customer resolutions and the types of letters that we were issuing to our customers and mentioning the different situation that COVID was bringing. And then a bigger one was about customer forbearance options and the payment holiday request that was made from our regulator. And we wanted to do that so we could support our customers in a very difficult time. So we set up an online form that customers could request a payment holiday through our website. Quite a simple form, and it has some details about them as a person and also their position that they were in. We then set up RPA in the background that was monitoring that mailbox and looking at that data and comparing the customer record with the customer's details we had and doing some ID and verification checks on those. If it was happy that the customer details matched, it then went and did some basic eligibility criteria checks. Is the customer suitable for a payment holiday? Do they have substantial arrears? Are they within the last 3 months of their contract, for example? Is their customer product type suitable for this situation? If any of those were no, then it would email the customer and say, it doesn't look like you're suitable for a payment holiday. But if you want to give us a call on these numbers, then we'd love to try and help you through the situation and we'll see what else we can do. Where it was a positive response and we were able to help, the robot went into the back-end systems, updated the customer's details, created a new contract, issued that electronically for a customer to review and sign. If a customer then took the time to review that, they can approve or reject it. And based on their response, the robot then went and worked that outcome. So if the customer rejected it, the robot put the contract back to how it was in the first place, no further issues. And if the customer accepted the new terms of the contract, then the robot made those adjustments too. Whilst that's a brilliant use of the technology, the big benefit was that enabled our advisor to help the customers that needed it most. They could spend more time on the calls with those customers in maybe unique or difficult situations and have more quality conversations with those people rather than people that were more straightforward.
How long did that take you to set up, Adam?
So we achieved that within, the core development was done in about 2 weeks. As I say, it was some long hours and some hard work, but it was a kind of all hands to the pump and we got our best team on the job. Within about 3 weeks, I think we'd been through the testing and the deployment into live. So I'd say from start to finish, probably about a 3-week window from initial requirements, understanding what we had to do from a system perspective and from an automation perspective, and then deliver something that a customer could then use on our website live.
What do you think would have been the consequences had you not been able to automate that process?
If we hadn't been able to automate this in the way that we did, it would have been the traditional route of recruiting temporary staff or maybe sending some more work to an outsourcer to help handle the volume of calls that we would have taken in. It would have been during that time, then the customers wouldn't have been able to help any other type of inquiry. So all of our other SLAs and services to customers would have also had a detrimental impact. The volume that we saw as a result of this just could not have been absorbed without this use of this technology.
What were the benefits that you achieved from automating this process?
So as well as giving the advisors quality time back so they could have conversation with customers that needed their support the most, one of the other benefits is that we could ensure that every customer got a consistent experience. There wasn't any emotion taken into account. It was based on the facts of their situation and their financial form that they filled in. So therefore, every customer would have got a very consistent service, and that's something that's really important to us, to make sure that we treat all customers fairly, and we're doing the same thing and the correct thing for each customer. It would have cost a significant resource cost to implement a kind of manual workforce to deal with this demand. And again, because we had the RPA tool of UiPath there ready, we were just able to scale that. And we use the term internally about dialing things up and down when we need it. And RPA really helped us dial up this one and say, right, let's throw all of our robots on it. We've got high volume, but we know that high volume is probably only going to last a month, and then it'll get back to some normality. And using RPA, we were able to dial that up, put all of our robots on it, and then once the peak has been met, then we dial that back down and let our robots work on those other things again.
Do you think that this process, and by you automating it, did that impact the way that your team has been valued by your senior leadership team?
Absolutely. I think the value of our team has increased significantly as a result of this. So we've been banging the drum about how positive this tool is and how we should be able to do more and more with it. But it always comes back to, what's the return on investment? Is it too difficult? How much change can we manage across the organisation at any one time? And as a result of how we were able to react to this, I mean, this was the highest priority topic being discussed at board level. And the fact that RPA is on that agenda and being considered as a solution to these problems speaks volumes. And as a result, we've now had another 3 big strategic items that we can now use this technology to look at. And again, help make sure that our paid staff are doing the things that they enjoy doing, and the customers also getting the support they need. Without this, although it was a very difficult situation, it gave us the space in that room, in that board meeting, for us to showcase what this technology is capable of. And it was probably the most positive outcome out of a very difficult situation.
How will you keep up with that momentum that this has caused?
I think the momentum that this has caused our team now will be our biggest challenge to manage going forward. How do we make sure that we're still working on the right things? How do we make sure that we don't need a team of 100 developers to churn out robot capabilities? And we're looking at solutions to how we do that. How can we upskill existing staff to make sure that they may be able to build their own robots in time? And how we can make sure that the big strategic items are the ones that we're doing and adding the most value. And it's caused some real challenges about how we then prioritise some of the lower level items that we would have really loved to do. But now, because of this, because of the awareness that people now have about RPA, those types of things may now be lower down the list.
So Adam, you mentioned that the challenge that you've got now is managing that demand and the prioritisation of the requests that you're receiving. How are you going to tackle that?
I think we're going to look to tackle that priority with some ruthlessness. It's a bit more strategic thinking about what's the best thing to do for this organisation, for our customers, which one has the best return on investment, and which one makes us go forward. We've proven that the traditional RPA stuff works, and we can kind of take that as to kind of call the term bread and butter stuff. And we now want to test this technology and take it much further. And I think we need to be ruthless about which things we look to use this technology for, and which ones we say, actually, whilst it can do that, is that the best thing that this team could be working on?
Did you manage to just do all of this on your own?
It wasn't something we could just do with RPA. It required a hugely collaborative effort across all of the organisation. We had some excellent business analysis done to understand the requirements of what we were being asked to do. Our compliance colleagues were nice and clear with what we should and shouldn't be doing and how we can best help our customers. The customer services staff, the ones managing the call volumes, taking the calls, dealing with maybe some complaints and some unhappy customers. And then the systems teams again in the background, the ones that were making system changes to enable us to offer payment holidays. RPA pulled all that together, but it couldn't have been done without the work of all those colleagues.
So Adam, what's next for your automation team in Volkswagen Financial Services?
We could just do more of the same. We could use the technology as we're currently doing now, task-based and process automation. But we realise that this technology can do so much more than that. We want to go into natural language processing, machine learning, artificial intelligence. We want to take this technology as far as it will go, enabling bigger and better use cases to be used on it. The size of the prize will increase. And as a financial organisation, I think we also need to acknowledge that the element of risk might increase. We need to be comfortable that a robot is going to be doing things that humans used to do. And we need to ask ourselves whether we're okay with that. We're comfortable that a robot will get it right a lot of the time, and that we need to use this to complement our existing human workforce so that we can do more and more for our customers.
You've been using UiPath now for quite a while. If you were to give people, other customers, advice about the journey and anything that you've particularly learned, is there any words of wisdom, anything that you'd want to share?
My advice to anyone starting out on an RPA journey would be two things, really. One of them is to start small. Pick a use case that's got significant volume in that you're going to get some reward from it and prove the technology, but not so big that it's going to take you months to deliver. Pick something that you're comfortable with and a known process, and then learn from that. All of the questions about governance, databases, robot accesses, what robots should and shouldn't do, who can control what a robot does, can a robot go rogue? All of these questions will come out in the early days. And it's better to do that whilst you can manage one or two automations before you get to a scale where you're looking to implement many robots across many different things. My other piece of advice would be that you don't need to employ expensive developers to start with. We've had one external hire and one contractor, and their knowledge has been, we couldn't have got where we are without their knowledge. But every other member of the team is an internal hire, and some of those people come from various different places across different customer service roles or different areas of IT. They've trained on UiPath using the UiPath Academy, and they're now competent developers delivering automations. So whilst it's tempting to go and get a best-in-class developer from the market, consider an approach to say, well, we need that for the expertise, but we also probably have a lot of people in the organisation that could become very good developers.
So Adam, Volkswagen Financial Services, it's obviously a huge logo, it's a global brand, and I know there's lots of the different entities using UiPath. Is there any collaboration going on?
Yeah, there's lots of collaboration across Volkswagen Financial Services. We have one central orchestrator hosted in Germany, and then we have different tenancies for each market. So just to name a few, there's obviously the UK, Ireland, Australia, all looking to use the technology. And obviously we all offer very similar products. We might have different back office systems, different processes, but at our heart, we're offering financial services to people that drive our cars. So there's lots that we can do to collaborate, and there'll be much more sharing as we go.